With the introduction of big data clusters, Microsoft has released a number of tools that will be needed to create and configure the cluster and to work with the data within. The first tool is kubectl, or KUBECTL. It's available on both Windows and Linux and is a command line tool that's used to initially set up the Kubernetes cluster that'll house the big data cluster. This tool is also used to monitor the cluster's operations after deployment. Next is MSSQL-CTL. Presumably that's an abbreviation of Microsoft SQL Control, but I'm just guessing here as the documentation doesn't give any hints on how it should actually be pronounced. This is another command line utility that enables cluster administrators to create and manage a SQL Server big data cluster within Kubernetes. It's written in Python and requires Python 3.5 and the pip package manager installed to use MSSQL-CTL. Both kubectl and MSSQL-CTL are required in order to deploy a big data cluster. Once everything is up and running, you're going to need Azure Data Studio to work with the cluster. This is also a requirement as many of the features, such as working with HDFS file stores and integration with Polybase connectors, are not yet available in SQL Server Management Studio. During the Community Technology Preview release of SQL Server 2019, an extension to Azure Data Studio is required to be installed to bring full compatibility with big data clusters. However, I would expect that requirement will go away over time as preview features are moved out of the extension and added directly into the main program. Those are the required tools that you'll need to work with SQL Server big data clusters, but there's a few additional tools that may be helpful to have. Azure CLI is another command line interface for managing cloud resources on the Azure platform. This is useful if you're taking advantage of the Azure Kubernetes Service, or AKS, as the host for your big data cluster. And finally, there's MSSQL CLI. This tool is optional, but it modernizes many of the capabilities previously found in the old SQL command line tool. MSSQL CLI brings a number of interesting features that you wouldn't expect to find on the command line, such as interactive auto-completion and syntax highlighting. If you're thinking syntax highlighting on the command line, yeah, I'm right there with you. You can find this modern command line interface on the GitHub project page at this URL. If you scroll down, you'll find this animated preview, which gives you a good idea of how cool this little command line tool is, and it's clearly a step above SQL command. So those are the tools that you can use to get started working with big data clusters in SQL Server 2019.